What's going on, Orange Heat supporters? Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, this is take one of Sports Talk Live, and I want to talk a little bit about the show. It's going to be a daily radio-style sports show covering all sports. You know, we usually have a focus on Syracuse University athletics, and just kind of wanted to broaden the horizons a little bit. We're going to talk NFL, NBA, NHL, college football, college basketball, whatever's happening in the sports world. That's what this is. So I've wanted to do this for a very long time. I thought maybe I'd have to wait till the summer to do it in the mornings with school and everything. And then I figured, why not go talk about sports every evening on the weekdays from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. So again, 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Welcome to Sports Talk Live on Orange Heat. I'm Giovanni Heater, and this is going to be a blast. So there's a lot to talk about today for take number one. A lot of coaching carousel things going on in the National Football League. In the NBA, you have some crazy trades with James Harden becoming a member of the Brooklyn Nets, yet another super team in the National Basketball Association. You have college football. Alabama just took down Ohio State for the national championship. And then it's Football Friday because Saturday tomorrow starts a fantastic divisional round playoff weekend for the NFL. I mean, you got the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens tomorrow night. You have Kansas City and the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. On Sunday night, you got Tampa Bay and Tom Brady taking on Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. And then, of course, the game to get the weekend going, it's the Green Bay Packers playing host to the Los Angeles Rams. And we'll dive into all of that. We'll talk about that more in depth as the show goes along. And first and foremost, I'd love to have people call in and we'll talk sports. So you can go ahead and click the link in the description if you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook Live, and you can go ahead and call in and join the conversation. I'd love to have it. So again, click the link in the description. You see it coming across the bottom as well. If you'd like to call in, and you'll appear right in here, and we'll talk about anything sports related. So we'll look a little bit at the coaching carousel to get things underway here. And the first thing that comes to mind is a brand new breaking news headliner right now in the NFL. And Arthur Smith actually reaches a deal to become the Atlanta Falcons' new head coach. And this is just released by ESPN. The Falcons have agreed to terms with Arthur Smith to be the team's brand new head coach. Smith has served as the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans for the past 2 seasons. And what a year for offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators coming to be coaches in the NFL. I mean, you got Brian Daboll from the Buffalo Bills. There's just so many options across the league. The New York Jets just made a big hire, which we'll definitely dive into. Urban Meyer stepping out of retirement to come be the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. What a story that can be, with Trevor Lawrence being drafted number 1 to Jacksonville, trying to build a franchise there. And, while we're talking about it, we might as well dive into it. Urban Meyer comes out of retirement to go be the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Many people thought it wouldn't happen. For a little bit, they thought maybe he'll take over the Texas job or the Florida job again when that was up for debate. And then Dan Mullen ran over there. Steve Sarkisian now with Texas. Everyone kind of wondered the last couple of years, will Urban take another coaching job? He's stepped away from coaching now a couple of times due to health stress issues that come along with coaching for him. Completely understandable to do so. National champion at Florida, national champion at Ohio State, and now he's going to coach for the first time in the NFL, and it's with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think it's because of the situation with Trevor Lawrence. You have an opportunity to draft possibly the highest prospect to come into the NFL draft in a very, very, very long time with Trevor Lawrence. And Urban's not a guy that's going to walk into a situation where he doesn't believe that there can be success, right? He said that in his opening press conference for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's not a guy that's going to walk into a losing situation, though the Jacksonville Jaguars only won 1 game this past year, right? And he thought it had the opportunity to be a fantastic football franchise. He thinks that the management is fantastic at the GM level and the higher execs who sit up in the booth at these games. and he thinks that he has the opportunity to build a lot of talent with this team. So don't be surprised when Jacksonville is extremely active in the draft. I mean, essentially, they're going to be drafting their team, and then again in free agency once that time period comes. This is a rebuild for Jacksonville. There's no doubt about it. There's no way to spin it. And if Urban Meyer, we're not a better coach. I mean, he can be the guy to do this. A national champion twice in college with two different teams. And you knew it was going to happen. They talked about it for a little bit, and you just kind of had that hunch that it was going to happen. Right. And they were talking big money. They were talking private jets, all of this different stuff. And Urban Meyer ends up saying, I'm going to take the job. I don't think people were surprised at that point. A couple of weeks had gone by leading up to it with the speculation of it. And yesterday, it was made official. Today, the opening press conference. It's exciting news for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's exciting news for the National Football League. Talking about the history of former college coaches coming into the draft, you have to look at guys like Pete Carroll, who were with USC. And he went from USC to the NFL, and look what he's built in Seattle. I mean, Pete Carroll is one of the best coaches in both college football history as well as NFL history. Two Super Bowl appearances, one Super Bowl victory, national championship game at the Rose Bowl against Texas, what he built with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and those teams at USC. I mean, they made a documentary about it, Trojan War, the 30 for 30. It doesn't get any better. So if Urban Meyer can take his experience to the next level here in the NFL and be as successful as Pete Carroll, you're going to see something special. The other question with Urban Meyer is how long is he going to be around, right? He's a guy that has a reputation for leaving these programs, no doubt about it. He did it at Florida, then he did it at Ohio State just a couple of years ago after a couple of years removed from a national championship in the first ever college football playoffs in 2014. And he did that, and he left. And people were surprised. He joined the broadcast booth on Fox talking Big Ten football. And so question mark is, how long is he going to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars? And I've heard a lot of talk that it's about 5 years. And the over-under right now for that, there's an over-under bet going on out there. How long will Urban Meyer be coaching? Over or under 5 years? And I say it's under 5 years. I do. I don't think it's the health issues mixed with the fact that he's kind of there to get this program there and then get out. And I think they can win a championship in the process, or at least make some kind of playoff run. No doubt about that. I think they're definitely talented. And you're going to have a guy like Trevor Lawrence. You're going to be active in the free agents. You're going to be drafting. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Urban Meyer's the new man in Jacksonville. Question coming up here, and we'll put it. Do you think that Bill O'Brien is a good hire for Alabama? That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked it. We were going to talk about it later in the show. Why not talk about it now? I'll address it. We'll be right back in just a second. We're going to get some more people on here. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Enjoy. Apologies for the technical difficulties there. Still trying to figure things out a little bit, but we're back. And the question was proposed, do I think that Bill O'Brien is a good hire for Alabama? Great question. Wanted to talk about this. And I think no. I really do. I mean, he's an offensive-minded coach, don't get me wrong. And he's had success in the National Football League. And maybe his situation is he's not successful as a head man, right? Which is fair to say. But nothing about the Houston Texans was impressive to me. And he was there for quite a long time. I mean, I remember years ago watching Hard Knocks with Bill O'Brien as the head coach of the Houston Texans. This is before Deshaun Watson. And it just wasn't there. And even with Deshaun Watson last year and DeAndre Hopkins, they win a playoff game. They beat the Bills in the first wild card round. Then they lose in the second round. They had a big lead over Kansas City, and they blow that lead. Kansas City tramples back 24 points, all of this. And I just don't think that Bill O'Brien I just don't have it in my head that he's a great coach, right? And he's an offensive-minded coach, and there's a lot of coaches out there that struggle at the head coaching level but are fantastic as coordinators. That's fair to say. The other thing I will say about that, though, is I'm not a guy that's going to doubt Nick Saban. 7-time national champion. You just saw it. Absolutely incredible what Nick Saban has done. Did it at LSU, then did it at Alabama, and that's where the dynasty and the legacy for Nick Saban has been built. I'm not going to bet against Nick Saban. He knows what he's doing. He's a very intelligent guy. And furthermore than that, look at the products that have come out of Alabama. Look what has progressed from Alabama. Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills, an Alabama guy. Steve Sarkisian going to be a head coach at Texas. I mean, the list goes on and on. Those are just recent references. The list goes on and on. Hugh Freeze, an Alabama guy. Nick Saban guy. I mean, the list is continuous. It's everlasting of guys that have come out of Alabama and become very successful football coaches. So with that being said, I think Nick Saban knows what he's doing. And I'm going to trust his judgment. But I was not impressed with Bill O'Brien as a head coach. But there's another man running the show. Maybe he's not good at running the show. Do I think it's a good hire for Alabama because of Nick Saban? I think it's a better hire than it looks on paper. I'll say that. Another comment here. They should have hired the Illinois quarterback coach, Jason Giambi, instead of Bill O'Brien. You know, I don't know a ton about Giambi, so it's definitely interesting. I would love to look a lot more into that. Illinois has seen minuscule success lately, but not a ton of success. And I think it's tough for Nick Saban to go out and get a guy that's a quarterback's coach in the Big Ten and bring him to Alabama as an offensive coordinator. I just don't think that's Nick Saban's MO. He's very used to getting high experienced guys, maybe even guys through his own pipeline coming back for a second time. So I like where you're going with it, but over Bill O'Brien, I would have to beg to differ. I think that the best bet would be Bill O'Brien in that situation for sure. So there's a lot going on in the coaching carousel. Bill O'Brien's going to Alabama as an offensive coordinator. That's college football, but he just left Houston. We just talked about what's going on with Urban Meyer. And then you got Saleh of the New York Jets. And this is definitely interesting. First of all, I'd just like to say he's the first Muslim head coach in the National Football League, which is definitely great for the NFL and for the Muslim culture. And just that combination is history, simply put. And we've seen a lot of it this year. You know, we saw at Vanderbilt the first female kicker and then the first points by a female football player in Division I. So we've seen a lot of history this year, and now we have the first Muslim head coach in the NFL. And the New York Jets are in a little bit of a situation here. And Robert Saleh, the new head coach of the New York Jets, I think it's a great hire. Great hire. Coming from the 49ers, defensive coordinator. And look, he did fantastic things with the 49ers just this season alone. One of the best defenses in the NFL on paper, top 10 run defense, pass defense, and takeaways. And they were injured, depleted, absolutely depleted on that defense. and they still were able to play fantastic football on the defensive side. You'd have to point that in the direction of Robert Saleh. And New York Jets fans are excited about this hire. And the biggest thing with this hire that stands out to me is the fact that they're going to keep Sam Darnold. And that seems to be the consensus as of late, that Sam Darnold is going to remain the quarterback of the New York Jets. Fantastic. Fantastic if you're a New York Jets fan. I mean, I wouldn't agree possibly a month ago when everyone thought the New York Jets were going to have the number one pick and they thought they were going to get Trevor Lawrence. Well, that ship has sailed. You won 2 games. Jacksonville only won 1. Jacksonville is going to get Trevor Lawrence. And then some people say, okay, second pick, take Devante Smith, take, Justin Fields, take Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU. But they're going to ride with Sam Darnold, it seems. And I think it's tough because I think the fan base has lost a lot of trust or excitement around Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold was a great quarterback in college, has the potential to be a great quarterback. I think he was just really ruined by a pretty, for lack of a better term, very disorganized, very not great franchise, and especially front office. And it goes all the way down to Adam Gase, who obviously was relieved of his head coaching duties of the New York Jets. So I'd love to see Darnold get his second chance, but I thought it was going to be in a different city. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going, and everyone did. And now they're saying they're most likely going to ride with Darnold, and Jets fans are excited about that. Darnold's a good player, and that's just, I think that shows the culture that Robert Saleh is bringing, that, he doesn't have to start from scratch. And very similar to Jacksonville, you're going to see them very active in the draft, very active in free agencies. And I heard a couple of points today. Why not trade away that second pick? It sounds crazy, but trade away that second pick and really pick somebody up in free agency that could be a huge asset to you. Kind of what Buffalo did in acquiring Stephon Diggs. And now you can make the argument, okay, why don't you go get Devante Smith then and have that target for Sam Darnold to throw to? Because he kind of doesn't have that after Robbie left New York at the end of last year. So I say don't get Devante Smith. Go pick up a big free agent. Try and snag somebody like make a trade for a Julio Jones. Try and snag somebody who's kind of there at that star level, just somebody for Sam Darnold to throw the ball to, and then spend your time in the draft picking up offensive linemen. And the second thing that I would say about the New York Jets, because you got to protect Darnold, is why not go and get that offensive lineman from Oregon with the second pick? I don't think Devante Smith is the answer for the New York Jets, and Devante Smith, fantastic football player. I mean, did you see what he did in the college football playoffs and then in the championship game? Absolutely just mind-blowing what he was able to do in the first half. Almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. Didn't even play the second half. Devante Smith was without a doubt worthy of the Heisman, first wide receiver to win a Heisman since Desmond Howard did it in 91. Devante Smith is going to be a star in the NFL. Some people are saying too small, all of this. Well, those are the same people that were saying he was too small to play college ball too. And there was a lot of naysayers. It's been buzzing everywhere. And he went and won the Heisman and had one heck of a season. And it wasn't just this year either. Look at the talent out of Alabama. Jalen Waddle. He's going to be a huge player in the NFL. Mac Jones announces yesterday that he is going to enter into the NFL draft. Najee Harris. I mean, the list for Alabama goes on and on. But back to my point when I'm talking about Robert Saleh coming from San Francisco to go coach the New York Jets. Great pickup for the New York Jets, no doubt about it. Let's talk a little bit about Syracuse basketball. The Orange struggle against North Carolina the other night. Actually didn't play a terrible game, but rebounding was atrocious for Syracuse. And that's why they've lost games this year. Syracuse has lost to teams that have a big center that can out-rebound you. Plain and simple. And Syracuse isn't even playing with a center. They're playing with Marek Dolezaj in there. And he struggled. And I can't blame the kid because he's done the most he can do. And he's played very good as far as what you need him to do. Scoring, doing a lot in the passing game, a lot offensively, but defensively, he can't get a rebound. And Guerrier has been the leading rebounder, and he's been great, double-double machine, but there's not a center in the game. And Barama Sidibe went out 4 minutes into the first game for Syracuse and hasn't been back since. And they don't know when he's coming back. They thought it was going to be after this hiatus. And then Jim said he was sore, couldn't go. Last game, sore, couldn't go. Then Jim snaps at the media and says, listen, I don't know when he's back. He's gone. He's not here right now. He's there, but he's not ready to play basketball. He's not healthy to play basketball. Plain and simple. So Syracuse doesn't have an answer at the center position. Frank Anselm, Jesse Edwards, John Bolajak have not been the answer, have gotten minuscule minutes. And it's disappointing because Syracuse can really score the ball, and they're keeping themselves in these games. The Orange have yet to be blown out by any stretch of the imagination. But it just hasn't been enough to get the job done when it counts against North Carolina, against Pitt, and against Rutgers. And Syracuse has to play Pitt again on Saturday, which, by the way, I'll be on the call for right here on Orange Heat Live. Syracuse and Pittsburgh noon tomorrow, tip off, and it's going to be at the Oakland Zoo. Not much of an Oakland Zoo without everybody there and ready for it. But nonetheless, very excited for Syracuse and Pittsburgh tomorrow. An opportunity to avenge a loss. Syracuse led in that game by 18 points in the first half. Towards the end of the first half, I mean, there's struggles going on in Syracuse. But how about Virginia Tech? How about Clemson? How about NC State? These teams playing really good basketball in the ACC. Florida State flipping the ACC on its heels. Florida State's been good. Virginia has struggled. Duke has struggled, just losing to Virginia Tech the other night, most likely out of the top 25. North Carolina has had struggles. Kentucky has had struggles. That's outside of the ACC. But what a better year for Syracuse to try and make a run at this thing and have an impact. You see a team like Virginia Tech led by Mike Young doing it. You see Clemson doing it. Clemson's ranked in the top 15. Virginia Tech's ranked in the top 20. I mean, what these teams are able to do and what teams are having struggles has been very interesting in college basketball, the landscape of college basketball and everything like that. We'll take another quick break here in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for listening.
Yo.
What is going on, Sean from the Syracuse Militia? Thank you so much for being here. What a surprise that was.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
No, now I can.
Okay. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I think you have it playing in the background as well. What is going on, Sean?
Hold on. What is that?
Militia? Thank you so much for being here. Your end as well. I think you're good now. It's not playing anymore. I think you had it playing in the background. Well, Sean figures it out. What a great surprise, Sean, over at the Cuse Militia podcast. Sean and Joe. This, I will say, I always said it. That's really where my inspiration came from. All of it. I always listen to the Cuse Militia podcast, and I kind of thought, why couldn't I do that? So thank you so much, Sean, and what a surprise for you to call in. What's going on?
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know. I think it was just the equipment was.
Well, Sean figures it out. What a
pinging back and forth. I'm still getting it.
At the Cuse Militia podcast. This, I will say, I always. All right. Well, Sean booted out. That's okay. We'll figure it out. Again, technical difficulties, but he's the best. Would have loved to have him stick around. Maybe he'll join back But again, throw in the comments what you want to hear talked about here. Anything going on big in the sports world. We're going to get into NFL. We're going to unpack all of that, and we have a guest joining us for that. And with a little bit of a surprise guest, we'll dive into that. The NFL, fantastic weekend of football. I can't wait for it. Again, you have 4 fantastic games. You got the Baltimore Ravens and the Bills on Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, you got the Packers and the Rams. And then Sunday, the nightcap is going to be Tampa Bay and New Orleans. And then, of course, Sunday afternoon, you have the Cleveland Browns against the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to save it a little bit to unpack all of that, but we will get into it, I promise. Let's talk a little bit about the James Harden trade for the NBA. And we got a comment here. Yeah, Jets new head coach. Yeah, we talked about it actually if you missed it. But again, Robert Saleh, new head coach of the New York Jets. I think it's a fantastic pickup for the Jets. It looks like they're going to keep what they have in Sam Darnold and build around that. So again, we talked a lot about it, but can't wait for that. And we'll talk a little bit about the James Harden trade for a minute. James Harden comes to the Brooklyn Nets in a trade in Houston. And he's kind of turned into a little bit of an Antonio Brown mess here, in my opinion. He's kind of not taking this whole COVID thing seriously, 1. And 2, he's not really taking his career that seriously. He's didn't have the best send-off in Houston. Comes to Brooklyn, but this super team is being created. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. And if you're LeBron James in the Western Conference, there's reason to be feared. To talk a little bit about that and to talk about the NFL for sure, we're going to have Mr. Tyler Gibbons joining us here. Gibby, how you doing?
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Everything's working?
I can see you. I can hear you. Everything looks good.
Solid. I'm on my phone. That's
So,
why it's vertical.
The James Harden trade, and didn't have the best send-off in Houston. No doubt about that. Honestly, just as a fan from the outsider, it looked very unprofessional how it all, kind of went down. But it is what it is. Goes to Brooklyn and just made LeBron James and the Lakers trip to the NBA Finals championship win a lot more difficult, in my opinion, because I kind of came in, I was thinking, especially with Klay Thompson being hurt, I didn't think the Warriors had a chance to give him a run now that Klay Thompson suffers that injury. I really didn't think Giannis and the Bucks were going to give it that much of a run. Maybe the Clippers give him a run in the West, but I don't know how much that's going to transpire.
Hey, don't sleep on the Mavs. Porzingis is back.
Absolutely. No, you're 100%. You're 100% correct in that. And don't sleep on the Phoenix Suns. What they got going with Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. Things are looking good in Phoenix as well. But it did look like maybe this trip to the finals and a championship back-to-back for the Lakers wasn't highly, highly contested, especially out of the East. Things have changed. What were your thoughts about the trade?
I mean, I wasn't expecting it personally. All of a sudden I get the alert on my phone and my phone's blowing up with alerts from ESPN, from Bleacher Report, and so I kind of dove in and looked exactly who was going where and stuff. But I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know how much chemistry, Kyrie Irving and James Harden are going to have, especially. You saw Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they were doing well together. They were building up the chemistry. Now, I don't know if James Harden is going to come in and that's going to kind of shake things up, but I definitely think they have a good chance of making a good run if they can figure out, who's handling the ball the most and, who's going to be scoring, or they can all just even it out,
No, I 100% agreed with you, because sometimes a super team is too much, right? Especially, you have one big ego on that team in James Harden. You have an ego in Kyrie Irving. The reason he left Cleveland when LeBron was there was mostly to become his own franchise. He didn't want to shadow under a guy like LeBron. And KD, well, he's been in super teams before with the Warriors, and he's even been teammates with James Harden before in Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook. The biggest thing to me that stands out that makes me feel like maybe it won't be a bust is the fact that Kevin Durant was pushing for this hard. He
That
was
is
telling
true.
the front offices of Brooklyn, we want James Harden. So when you have your star player advocating for it, it makes me feel like maybe they have something brewing. And I think they were already very good, just Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Now,
Oh
what's
yeah.
going on with Kyrie is kind of another question. Wondering, to see, he's been hit with a bunch of fines today if he'll play
Yep.
basketball going forward. But, COVID's difficult for everyone. Everyone handles it differently, everything like that. Gibby, let's turn it over to the National Football League. It is a fantastic football Friday as
Oh
everybody
yeah.
gets ready for the matchup Saturday and Sunday. You're a Green Bay Packers fan. Tell me about this Packers squad.
I'm really looking forward to see what they can do tomorrow. Aaron Rodgers coming off one of the best seasons of his career. Devante Adams having an absolute year. Even you got a guy like Robert Tonyan, who nobody was really talking about. Scored something like 11 touchdowns at the tight end position. You got Aaron Jones doing great. You got the rookie AJ Dillon stepping out a couple weeks ago and having the game of his career. One of the only games he's played a lot in. So I'm just really looking forward to see what they can do against the Rams defense.
Now, how nervous are you about David Bakhtiari on the offensive line being out for Green Bay and possibly not being able to protect Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, that was definitely a hit for sure. I mean, Bakhtiari's one of the best on the line, in the league, I would say.
I agree.
And Aaron Donald is his status for the game is still questionable. He said he's optimistic to play, but you're gonna say that they hope to play for sure. So Aaron Donald, coming off and with Bakhtiari out makes me a little bit nervous. But you see, some of the numbers and some of the stats that Aaron Rodgers has still been putting up with Bakhtiari out. He hasn't been hurried too much. He's only been sacked a couple of times. So I think the other guys on the O-line really are stepping up big right now when they need to. And hopefully it won't make too big of a deal.
Awesome. So now we'll go through the games. I'd love to kind of get your predictions and talk a little bit about each game. Starting things off on Saturday, tomorrow, you must be excited. It is your Green Bay Packers against the LA Rams. And I'll be completely honest with you, Gibby. I don't think the LA Rams stand a chance. And I'm not super high on your Green Bay Packers, especially with Bakhtiari out for them on the offensive line. But I'm really not sold on the LA Rams, and I'm definitely not sold on an LA Rams team that might not have Aaron Donald in the mix. And even if he's in the mix, he might be kind of what they call, situational football, only plays on third down, only plays on, second and goal, only the situations where he's needed and can make a huge impact. I don't like LA's chances. Honestly, I don't think it's anywhere close, though it's the playoffs. Your thoughts?
I got to take Green Bay. Of course, I'm a fan, but John Wolford has been ruled out. Jared Goff's playing with
dislocated thumb.
Yeah, he's not 100%. And you saw, he wasn't playing horribly against Seattle, but Seattle really just, in my opinion, Seattle was not playing good football. So I think the Packers are the much better team offensively and defensively. So I see the Packers taking it by a healthy amount.
Fair enough. Absolutely. And I'm not going to get too deep into my picks because I'm going to reveal them at the end. But Buffalo and the Ravens are the nightcap. Buffalo and Baltimore, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Your thoughts on the game? I think it's going to be a good one.
I think that might be the best game of the weekend that we're looking at. I also think Saints Bucks is going to be pretty good. But, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Lamar finally getting his playoff win, against the Titans. Ravens playing good football. I see it being a really close one. I think I got to go Buffalo by just a couple points, maybe a field goal. But I don't know. It's going to be a close one. And I'm not saying that Buffalo was winning confidently because I really think it's going to be a toss-up.
Coming from a Bills fan, I appreciate that pick. No, I think it's going to be a great game. And I think the biggest thing to look at is what the Ravens were able to do against the Titans. And it's really about how teams are playing now. It's not about what happened in October. It's not about what happened in September. It's not even really what happened in November. It's what's happening in December and right now. What's happened the last 6 weeks of football. The last 6 weeks of football, the Ravens have been playing fantastic. They were able to shut down Derrick Henry for under 100 yards in the last go-around. That was a playoff game. they were able to do a lot offensively as well against the Tennessee Titans. The Bills' biggest weakness defensively, though it's gotten a lot better through the last 6 weeks, which I said is important, has been stopping the run. No matter who you are, Lamar Jackson has the capability to run past anyone. There's also the possibility of a snowstorm in Buffalo. And I think that if you're a Buffalo fan, this is the last thing you want. Though it might look pretty cool on TV, snow is the greatest equalizer in sports. And if you make both teams run the football and not really air it out because of the snow, Buffalo will lose, because that's what the Ravens do really, really well. And if Buffalo wants to win, they got to be able to throw the football. And if it's a snowstorm, watch out. Watch out. So everyone's saying, oh, it would be so cool, AFC divisional playoff game in the snow, in Buffalo, Orchard Park, all this stuff. It's the best equalizer. It's the last thing you want. Gibby, let's talk a little bit about the matchup to start things off on Sunday. Everyone well-fed. Great Saturday of football. Wake up, ready for more football. And it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. Now, Cleveland did a lot against Pittsburgh. Did I think Pittsburgh was going to win? Yes, I did. I'll admit it. Did I think Cleveland had a chance? Absolutely. I thought it was going to be a really close game. Cleveland surprised me a little bit, but not too much, because I thought they were going to play really well, especially with everything riding on it. They really trample the Steelers, for lack of a better term, and they play some fantastic football. Gibby, your thoughts on Kansas City and Cleveland?
What Cleveland did, what Cleveland did to Pittsburgh was, in my mind, I had Pittsburgh that game. Cleveland wasn't coming off, they weren't really practicing. The head coach was out. I was like, this is just a game that I think Pittsburgh will take. And all of a sudden, Cleveland goes out and scores 28 points in the first quarter.
Right.
I think this game is going to be an offensive shootout. I really hope it is. Those are my favorite games to watch, the back and forth, high scoring games. I think Kansas City takes it probably by no more than 10, but I think, Kansas City is just elite, and I think they win in a shootout.
Now, again, I'm gonna save my picks for the end of the show, but I can agree with you that it can be a shootout, and I really think Cleveland has a chance, more of a chance than people are crediting them for. And I kind of look back to what the Raiders were able to do against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Browns kind of play that similar style. They have a very similar quarterback, Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr. Not many differences between the two. They have really good wide receivers. Look at the Raiders wide receiver room. Look at the way that they play, the play style. And then they both got really good running backs. The Raiders have Josh Jacobs and the Browns have Nick Chubb. I really think those two teams are fairly similar to each other. I don't think that's a bad comparison to make. And twice the Raiders gave Kansas City fair problems. And I think Cleveland's defense is a lot better than the Raiders' defense, which is why Cleveland's in the playoffs and the Raiders were out a couple weeks before the season ended. I really like what Myles Garrett offers on the defensive line, but at the same time, you got to love what Mahomes can do. Yeah, the pocket collapses. Well, he's going to find a way to throw it 10 seconds after the ball's snapped. That's just what he does, and Josh Allen does it too for Buffalo. Now, Gibby, let's take a look at Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I think Baltimore is the game of the week, but if it's not, this is definitely the second choice, easily. The old geezers going at it, Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Everyone loves that. Gotta love that. Your thoughts on Tampa Bay and New Orleans on Sunday night?
I think the Saints are going to take it. They've been playing good football the last couple weeks. They got a little scheme going. You throw Taysom Hill in, and you can really do whatever. Keep the Bucs on their toes on defense. And I honestly expected more from the Buccaneers this season. So I really think the Saints take this one.
All right. Fair enough. Now, Gibby, there's one team that I wish was in the playoffs, and honestly, I wish they were in there instead of the LA Rams right now, because I just love watching them play, and it's this team. We'll show a clip real quick.
Shotgun. Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It is. Oh, it's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous.
Now, I'm still not even that upset about it because, what a play. And I think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be a force next year because they got one of the best receivers in the league, and they got one of the up-and-coming star quarterbacks in the league who really grew from year 1 to year 2 for the Arizona Cardinals. He was great this year. Shaped things up on the defense. They're going to have Chandler Jones back, which was really big. Buda Baker, I think, is a monster in the secondary for this team. Watch out for the Arizona Cardinals next year, man.
No, the Cardinals are playing football that is just fun to watch. I love watching any
Absolutely.
game, but the way Kyler Murray plays, it's electric. And I was watching the game against the Bills and the throw and the Hail Mary. And I was at school. I was watching it on my phone, and I was going crazy. And everybody's like, what are you doing? Why are you freaking out? And I'm like, you have to see it. There's no way I can describe this accurately in words. You just have to see it. And it was one of the top plays this season. So fun to watch. So I think the Cardinals would have been fun to watch in the playoffs, but unfortunately, with that Week 17 game against the Rams, Kyler Murray did exit the game first quarter and didn't come back until I think early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, too little, too late for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, Gibby, well, thank you so much for joining me, man. I'll turn you loose, but it's been a pleasure to talk NFL with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of the show. Nice talking.
Awesome. Again, that's my good buddy, Tyler Gibbons. Went to school with him. Again, one of my best friends. Great to have him on. Always talk NFL, so why not do it on the show? Glad that he called in. So let's talk about my predictions. We got about 20 minutes left, and let's talk about my predictions for the NFL going forward. Again, Baltimore and Buffalo, game of the week. What a game. We're going to save that for last. Let's take a look at Green Bay and LA. Obviously, I said Green Bay is going to win. I already gave that one away, especially without Goff healthy and Walford gone. And to be honest, I don't want to see Jared Goff playing another Super Bowl. I don't want to see Sean McVay in another Super Bowl. They had their ride, and they got trampled by New England, and they're just since haven't been a great football team. Do I think Aaron Donald is one of the best, probably the best defensive player in the NFL? 100%. And he gave Buffalo a big problem earlier in the year. He can do it against anybody, no matter how good the offensive line, whatever. But if he's not a full go and he's not playing every snap, that changes the game. And I think Jalen Ramsey could have, they're going to try and lock down Devante Adams. The thing with Green Bay is, unlike Buffalo or another team like Tampa Bay, they have Devante Adams, but outside of him, their receivers are a little bit inconsistent in Green Bay. So if they try and lock down Devante Adams, maybe they have some kind of chance. But then you have a good defense in Green Bay, and I don't think the offense is going to get going. They're going to look for Robert Woods to throw the ball to. But who's going to throw the ball to him is kind of my thoughts with this game. Green Bay wins it big. I'm going to say the final score of that thing, we'll go 35-14. I think Green Bay really, it's a large playoff win for Green Bay, and they just kind of continue to add insult to injury with that one. And Sean calls in again, so we'll add Sean before we wrap things up. Oh, he left again. Never mind. Sean's gone again. Forget it. So we'll talk about the other game, Cleveland and Kansas City, the other early game, I should say. This one's on Sunday, the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game. And a lot of people are saying that Cleveland doesn't stand a chance, and I think they're wrong. I think that Cleveland is clicking at the right time, playing good football at the time of the year that you want to do it. They've developed throughout the year as a team. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, and they can play defense. They're good in all three phases of football, and they have a good special teams unit covering punts and kicks as well, which is more important than you think. I think that the Browns have a chance. I'm not super sold on Kansas City. Kansas City did not finish the season strong like some of these other teams did. Did they win? Yes. They lost one game this year. It was against the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. But are they this dominance that everyone thought? I don't know. I just continue to look at that Miami game when I'm trying to compare the Chiefs to the Bills. And I look at that Miami game. The Chiefs struggled against Tua and the Bills and still won the game, but by 3 points at the end of it. And it was a tough to the end football game that wasn't very high scoring. and the Dolphins had one of the best defenses in the NFL. Turn 2 weeks later, just 2 weeks later, with the Dolphins still having a playoff spot to play for. They win and they beat the Bills, they're in the playoffs, no matter what. And the Bills throttle the Dolphins. It wasn't even close. Josh Allen throws 3 touchdowns and almost 250 yards in the first half, comes out of the game, and then in the second half, the Bills' second team did it. And they put up another 3 touchdowns. You're talking about Antonio Williams, who is still on the practice squad for Buffalo, just got upgraded to the actual practice squad roster. And he played in that game and scored 2 touchdowns. You're talking about backup quarterback for the Bills, Matt Barkley, throws a dime to Gabriel Davis. So when I'm comparing Kansas City to the Buffalo Bills, I look at that Miami game, and I look at how Miami gave the Kansas City Chiefs so much trouble, and 2 weeks later, Buffalo had absolutely no problem about them. So we got about 13 minutes left. We're going to wrap up the picks in the last 5 minutes or so. And we got Sean from the Keeps Militia podcast. I think he finally got it to work. Fingers are crossed. Sean, what's going on?
I think I got it. Did I get it?
I think you got it. You got it.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry about that, by the way. But hey, when I came in, it told me that my version of iOS has a bug.
Oh.
And that it'll fix itself. And I just didn't want to ruin your show, which congratulations, obviously.
Thank you.
You're doing big things, dude. We're proud of you. Always loved you, and you're good at what you do, man. Just never stop. So anyways, it would have fixed itself, but I just wasn't patient enough because I didn't want to ruin your show. I mean, I'll ruin my own show. I pretty much do that all the time, but hey. So what do we got? What do we got on slate? Look, let me tell you about just my thoughts on the NFL real quick. So I was listening a little bit what
That's
you
what
and Tyler were hearing. I picked Buffalo to go win the Super Bowl. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl a while ago, but I picked them to win the Super Bowl. And the reason is because obviously Josh Allen. So I think as far as he goes, he's his own worst enemy. So if Josh Allen plays clean, I don't see how they get beat, man. I just don't. And I think that they don't have. I think the Colts game obviously was the monkey off the back. And let's be honest, because you go in Baltimore. What are they, a 2.5-point favorite against Baltimore?
Yeah, and Buffalo's at home too. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Because
Yeah.
I think they're calling for snow.
They are, which I said it earlier. I don't love that. I think snow is a great equalizer, which is what you don't want. And you run the ball in snow. Buffalo wants to pass the ball. If they have to run the ball, it's over.
Yeah, and they're also the winds are going to be whipping too, from what I heard.
Yeah.
So, well, I understand that, but I honestly, the one thing that would worry me about that as a Bills fan is that Baltimore is good at running the ball. So if you're keeping the ball out of the air, that's a big deal. But you got you got the snow on your side. I think that's an advantage, Bills. I really do. Plus, you got the fans there. So I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. I like him. I like his attitude. I like it when there's certain people that hate a guy, that only makes me like someone more. So,
right.
You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
Good luck with that, man. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I think it's probable. I think it's probable. It's more than possible. Put it that way.
I agree, and I think the AFC is a lot better than the NFC.
They usually are.
All of the competition seems to be in the AFC. And again, I picked Buffalo too, and I honestly put fandom aside. I talked about how they're playing the hottest football in the league. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Going into the playoffs, they were the hottest team. And I said it before, but I want to get your thoughts on this. I kept going back to that Miami game. How Kansas City has been just kind of eking out these wins to finish off the last 5-6 weeks or so, while Buffalo's blowing everybody out. And I go back to that Miami game. 2 weeks before the Bills played them, the Chiefs barely beat Tua and the Miami Dolphins by a field goal. The Bills play them 2 weeks later, and Miami still has everything to play for. If they beat the Bills, they're in the playoffs. So they have everything to play for. and the Bills throttle them. And for me, that was just kind of like, if the Bills can get to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, I think the Bills beat the Chiefs. But there's teams that can propose problems like the Baltimore Ravens beforehand.
I don't know if that's a great gauge, because the thing about the Bills and Josh Allen is when they're on, he's almost unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And that game was in Miami, right?
No, the last one was in Buffalo. Oh, the Chiefs? Yes, I think that was in Miami.
Okay. And here's the thing with the Chiefs, too, because I'm a Raiders fan. So I get to see the Chiefs twice a year. Raiders really, I think the Chiefs have lost 2 games, but Raiders beat them with Mahomes. So,
yeah.
Right? They won their last game of the season, right?
Yeah, so they played twice. Kansas City's only lost 1 game this year, and it was to the Raiders.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then the other loss was, or they didn't lose another one. So, yeah. Your Raiders beat them the only time they lost.
And they almost beat them a second time, too.
Yeah.
It was a close game. But it comes down to Mahomes. I mean, I think the Bills, if you want to look ahead to an AFC championship matchup, I think the Bills have more weapons. But they're also out of Buffalo. And I don't know if the gauge should be the Dolphins game, but I mean, it gives you kind of a good idea. But Tua, what did he win? 6 out of 9 games he started? So
something like that. And Fitzpatrick saved the day on a couple of them.
Yeah, against the Raiders. He did. Yeah. So there's that. But we'll see. I would go ahead and I think that the Baltimore game is going to be that's going to be fun to watch. I think it's in prime time, and those are my favorite. Prime time, snow in Buffalo. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I don't give Baltimore much of a shot with that. I really don't. Really?
Okay. All right.
I don't. I think the 2.5 points is absurd. I don't even know who come up with that.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
maybe I've been reading into the media too much. If you watch ESPN and stuff, they all say Baltimore's going to win. They're riding that Lamar Jackson train.
Yeah, dude. But I think there's an obvious disconnect between some of the people that you listen to that are professionals and the motivation and just sheer talent of Josh Allen.
Fair enough.
I really do. I think that, I'm not like a huge football expert when it comes to like analyzing positions, but I wouldn't want to play Josh Allen all the time.
Right.
No way. I mean, if I'm a Baltimore fan, I'll take Josh Allen.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's something special brewing no matter what. All right, well, before I let you go, let me get your other picks for the weekend. You got Green Bay, Los Angeles. You got the Chiefs and the Browns, and then you got Tom Brady and Drew Brees going at it, the Geezer game on Sunday night. Who you got in those 3?
Okay, so I'm going to take Tom Brady right now.
Okay.
I'm going. I think these playoffs are all about the quarterbacks, right? So Drew Brees has his issues. I think he's got some more issues, and I just think that Tom Brady, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's dangerous too. Obviously, he's just proven that. Maybe it wasn't Bill Belichick. Maybe it was Tom Brady. So I wouldn't want to play him either. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers, but I take them too. So, what was the other one? Browns. Oh, Browns. Chiefs. Chiefs.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the Browns have a decent shot because I said to Gibby, I think that the Browns are a similar structured team in the way that they play and the personnel that they have to the Raiders, and the Raiders had the recipe to beat the Chiefs. So that was just kind of you look at Josh Jacobs compared to Nick Chubb. You look at Baker to Derek Carr. You look at the wide receiver unit, a guy like Landry against a guy like Henry Ruggs. There are definitely some similarities to them. I think we lost Sean, but
you there? I missed all.
Oh no! Now you're there.
Oh, he's frozen.
Are you frozen? Are you good? Are you there? Sean, did we lose you?
No, am I back? I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Dude, I'm just screwing everything up for you tonight. Go back and say what you said about the Browns
Oh, I was just saying
in
that I
Kansas
think
City.
that they're a similar team structure-wise and as well as how they play to the Raiders, who had the recipe to beat them. I mean, you look at the way that Josh Jacobs plays compared to Nick Chubb. I think Baker and Derek Carr are a decent comparison. You look at like the wide receiver unit. I mean, Oakland, or not Oakland anymore. Vegas has, a guy like Ruggs compared to like a Jarvis Landry. Like just the style that those guys play and kind of the way they run their offense is fairly similar. I think it's a decent comparison. And the Raiders had the recipe. So I'm not saying that the Browns are going to win. I'm just saying it might be closer than this 30-point blowout that's expected.
Oh, that's a 10-point, though. Isn't that 10 points? The spread's 10 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So the Browns may cover that. I would almost take the Browns to cover, but a Kansas City win.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, I think their time's up. Like they played great last week against Pittsburgh, but come on, man.
Fair enough.
28 points in the first quarter. That's never going to happen again. Not this year.
Right. Well, and one of them
they might
on a
need
fumble. One of them was on a fumble right there,
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Sean. We got someone else who wants to pop in, so I'll let you go.
You're good, man. Thanks for having me, buddy. Hey.
Thank you.
Good job, man. I always love listening to you. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. I said the inspiration came from your show, so.
Well, I'm flattered by that. I appreciate it. We'll see you, Gio.
See ya.
Bye.
Now adding to the stream, we have Darren Townsend. Darren, thanks for tuning in. Now, Darren, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about, and we'll go a little over 7 o'clock. We'll give it an extra 10 minutes or so I can get my picks in at the end. Darren, I know you wanted to talk about your man, Urban Meyer. You're a big Buckeye fan, so obviously leaves the Buckeyes and then decides about 3-4 years later that he is going to go ahead and coach again in the National Football League for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is your take on that?
Man, I was shocked, honestly. So when he came out and said he's never going to coach again, I was like, wow, he's done. After his resume, what he's done at Florida, Ohio State, Bowling Green, it's great. He wins everywhere. Now going to Jacksonville, hope he continues that more. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Now, Darren, also we should talk about your Ohio State Buckeyes against Alabama. I was texting you all throughout the game. I was rooting for your Buckeyes for you. Just kind of give me your take on what the future holds. Justin Fields is gone. Ryan Day, I think, is probably, besides Nick Saban, and in the conversation with a guy like Lincoln Riley and these elite coaches, Ryan Day is probably a top 2, top 3 coach in college football. And I don't really think there's any disputing that at all, especially what he's been able to do the last couple of years. Has he gotten over the hump yet? No. But this is still a new program, and I just love the way that he coaches. So, Darren, tell me about Ryan Day and what the future holds for the Buckeyes.
I mean, the recruits Ryan Day's bringing into us is like unreal. Like we have 2 5-star backups next year to compete. C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller. They're both going to be standout players. So we'll have to see. And for the defense side of the ball, I think we need to get some more recruits in because our secondary, you see from Alabama, they got beat. They just got beat. They weren't as fast enough. So it's like our offense has potential. Our defense, I see some more from Ryan Day. Bring in more recruits, I mean.
Absolutely, D. So any final thoughts about the national championship, about Urban Meyer, or even your take on the NFL games this weekend?
I don't mean to upset you, but I'm saying Baltimore by 7.
Wow. Okay.
But then I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers because he's a bad man. Like Stephen A. says, he's a bad man. I don't play with him right now. And for I don't know. I think I got Saints by 4 over
Saints. Okay.
Just
and then who you got between Cleveland and the Chiefs?
I just checked the spread's 10. So I mean, I honestly think with Pat Mahomes with the week off, they might stall out a little bit, but I would say they'll cover by a 10.
Okay.
Oh well.
All right, D. Well, thanks so much for joining me, man. We're going to wrap up the show, so I appreciate you being here, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. So that was great. Thanks to Sean and Gibby and Darren who all called in. Appreciate you guys calling anytime. Absolute blast. And it's just about 7:01, so we'll start to wrap things up again. I just want to go over my picks for this weekend. I got the Green Bay Packers taking down the LA Rams. And then we'll go back to Cleveland right now and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Cleveland stays in this game. I think they cover the 10-point spread. I think Darren brought up a great point in the fact that the Chiefs could stall out after a week off. I was a huge believer in that you don't want that 1 seed. You want that 2 seed. It could be your best route to the Super Bowl because I think especially for a team like Buffalo who was coming in so hot into the playoffs, the last thing you want to do is get out of your routine for a week and really halt the program. Yes, you're practicing, but you're not preparing for a game that weekend. Everything's thrown off, right? So I think that the Kansas City Chiefs could certainly stall out a little bit. And I think the Browns have a really good shot to keep this thing close. That being said, Kansas City wins it by a field goal. They eke out that win that they've been doing all year. The last 6 weeks or so, they've been winning games by field goals, by a touchdown. Mahomes comes out and saves the day, right? I think that's the same situation on Sunday afternoon. So I got the Packers winning game 1, the Chiefs winning game 2. Now we look at Tampa Bay and New Orleans. What a game. The Tampa Bay Bucs. Who would have thought Tom Brady would have a chance to bring a team from the NFC to an NFC championship game? I mean, are you kidding me? So you got the Bucs on one side, great defensively with that linebacking core. Then you have the wide receiving core with Godwin and Mike Evans, and then you got Gronk at the tight end spot. I mean, the list just goes on and on. You got Tom Brady throwing the football. You got Ronald Jones Jr. in the backfield. You got Leonard Fournette in the backfield, and you got Antonio Brown as a wide receiver now in the last 4 weeks or so. I mean, this is a stout team on paper. There's no doubt about that. Then you look at the Saints. Michael Thomas is back. Adds a new dimension to this team. How different, though? Taysom Hill at the tight end spot. I love what they do with him, where Drew Brees isn't carrying all that load. A lot of plays with him under center, whether they're run plays or he catches passes. Taysom Hill is a big part of the offense, even when he's not backing up Drew Brees. And I think that's the only team in the NFL that you even see that with. Very interesting. Definitely throws a wrinkle in things. Alvin Kamara. I think besides Derrick Henry, the best running back in the NFL. Fantasy points will tell you that. What a game this will be. But I don't and the Saints defensive line is insanely good. Better than any defensive line left in the playoffs, no doubt. This is a game that goes down to the wire. But I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady. And I predicted it on an episode earlier that Tom Brady would take that team to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to say Tom Brady and the Buccaneers beat the Saints at the end. 2-minute drill. Tom Brady goes down and throws a touchdown. And the defense will get a takeaway too, whether it'll be a fumble or something. The defense will contribute to that win as well. And Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, and this team will go to the NFC Championship. And it'll be against Green Bay. And that'll be a great matchup. You got Breeze and Brady one week. Then the next week, you got Rodgers and Brady. Doesn't get any better. I got the Bucs. Now let's talk about the Bills and the Ravens. Game of the week, 100%. And I talked about the snow being an equalizer. That's what you don't want. But let's just look at the teams. Buffalo's playing hotter than anyone else in the league. And they slowed down a little bit against the Colts. But I think the Colts were that good. I really do. I did not want to play the Ravens. I wanted to play the Steelers. 100%. If I'm Buffalo, I wanted to play the Steelers. You already proved that you could beat them once. And you're not that good against the run defensively throughout the longevity of the season. The Ravens, man, they're clicking. And their defense is playing fantastic. Second in the league in running defense. Fourth in the league in passing defense. They force turnovers. They are stingy. They don't give you an inch. And they're really good. And they're really good against the pass and the run. And Buffalo passes the ball, and they're really good at defending the pass. but they haven't played Josh Allen yet. And then the Bills. The defense has improved tremendously throughout the last spurt and stretch of the season, no doubt about it. But they got ran over last week against Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he had some really lengthy runs. You're talking 20-yard runs against Buffalo. Can't have that next week. Lamar Jackson has the capability to run past anyone. They got Dobbins in the backfield. I mean, they got a lot going on in the Baltimore Ravens, both offensively and defensively. And you know that Andrews is going to catch a lot of passes at tight end. He's Lamar Jackson's prime target. Buffalo, offensively, nobody's better. Cole Beasley is supposed to be pretty healthy this week. And you saw what he did last week, catching some huge balls despite the injury. Cole Beasley, give him all the credit in the world, a fighter. Stephon Diggs is the best wide receiver in the National Football League. There's just too many guys for Baltimore to defend. They got a great secondary, but there's so many guys that they have to defend. Gabriel Davis can do it. Diggs can do it. Beasley can do it. Isaiah McKenzie can do it. John Brown's healthy now. He can do it. Tyler Kroft can do it at tight end. Dawson Knox can really do it at tight end. The list just continues to go on and on for this Buffalo Bills. That's why they've had 13 guys catch touchdown passes this year, tying an NFL record. And you look at the run game. That's the weakest part of this Bills team. Zach Moss is out. But they just activated Antonio Williams. They picked out Devonta Freeman. And they also activated to the actual roster who will play will be TJ Yeldon. And they have Devin Singletary. It's time for Devin Singletary to step up. No doubt about it. I think he will. I don't think they're going to have to rely on the run. I think even if it's snowing, they'll still throw the ball. That's their game. But it's going to come down to Josh Allen not making mistakes because that Ravens secondary is pesky, and they're going to try and force these turnovers. And Josh Allen has to read it well, and you can't make a mistake in this game because Harbaugh knows how to capitalize on those, and the defense can take the ball away. So Josh Allen's got to play a smart game. Just keep his head on his shoulders, limit the risky throws, and just play football. I can't wait for this one. I cannot wait. I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl. So there's my pick. Buffalo beats the Baltimore Ravens, and they beat them by a field goal, just like last week. But I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't nervous. I think Baltimore has a really good chance to beat Buffalo. I think it's a game that goes down to the wire. What a fantastic weekend of football, guys. We'll wrap it up with that. Thanks so much for being here again. I couldn't be more excited to do this, continue to grow this, bring it to you every day. Thanks to everyone who called in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everyone that commented. Keep it up. Hopefully you'll come back for more next time. So thank you so much. I'm Giovanni Heater, and this has been Sports Talk Live on Orange Heat.